Coming up in this week's show, we advise a viewer with a suitable vehicle to do a daily commute.
VW Amarok bakkie models go head-to-head.
And we help a viewer get better fuel consumption on his high-mileage Toyota Hilux.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide. We'll be tackling a fresh batch of your vehicle-related questions and queries once again. And here to help us this week are two familiar faces, Sam De Fonseca from The Car Scene and Mike Bradshaw from Top Gear Auto. Nice to have you gentlemen back with us.
Thank you, guys.
Remember, if you like the panel's advice, you can send us an email to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za. And please include as much information as possible, including a nice photograph of yourself.
Okay guys, we're going to kick off things with a question from 26-year-old Karabo. He's in the market for a compact hatchback for daily commute that is a reliable, light on gas and has low maintenance costs. I think that's what everybody wants, guys? Yeah, he's got a monthly budget of 5,000 Rand. Is his current option of a 2017 Renault Clio Dynamic with 70,000 kilometers on the clock a good buy? He's also open to other suggestions. Mike, we're going to start with you.
Mike, let's get that question a little more clarity. It's 5,000 including insurance.
Yeah.
So that budget is reduced.
Well, yes, it is, and no. You might not get a Renault with 70,000 Ks. You might get one with 110,000 Ks.
Yeah.
But the Renault is a pretty sexy little car, but I don't think it's the sensible choice. Not if he's looking at a budget and reliability and running costs.
Yeah.
If it was me, it would most certainly be the Suzuki Swift. Not as pretty, but you can put a set of mags on and you can put some unsk in it and you've got yourself a great little car.
Yeah.
They are reliable, they don't break, and if they do, they cost almost nothing to repair.
Yeah.
Whereas the Renault is going to be on the other side of the scale.
It's going to be an expensive car to fix. I know we do a lot in our workshops and they are expensive to fix. Sam, you got somebody to throw in there?
Yeah, and I totally agree with Mike, and I understand what Karabo is saying here because he wants fuel consumption.
Yes.
And that's probably why he's looked at the Clio Dynamic with its 900cc motor. It's very fuel efficient. But as Mike said, it's not the greatest car in terms of reliability, and also parts support is also neither here or there. So Suzuki Swift is a great option on the used market. I would also say perhaps even look at getting an older Toyota Starlet or Suzuki Baleno, because he did say that he drives quite high mileage, so 300 kilometers all the way back home. Maybe a Swift is not the best.
Another car I think I would throw in there would be is it the 5th or 6th generation Ford Fiesta?
Yeah.
You get the 1.4 version.
Oh yes.
And that's a good looking car. It's got some nice stuff in there, light on fuel. Stay away from the 1 litre EcoBoost and the diesel versions because they're a little bit more expensive to maintain. But a basic 1.4 Fiesta, what do you think, Siggy?
I like the Suzuki Swift.
Oh yeah, great one.
It's a fantastic car. Just bought my daughter one. And that fuel consumption astounded even me.
Yeah.
And I took it out and drilled it just to see if the damn thing is right. And it is right. The fuel consumption there is something phenomenal.
Yeah, you run about 5.5 litres.
Yes, all the time.
Quite normal. Yeah.
And they're really fun to drive as well.
And in my case, it's like perfect for me because daddy's filling the gas most of the time. So, it's absolutely spot on. Suzuki Swift, you get a good second-hand one. And like Adam says, you're not going to fight too much when it comes to the maintenance costs.
Yeah, cheap to maintain.
Yeah. Whereas the Renault, Mike is spot on. Hey?
Yeah.
It does get a bit expensive after a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, we throw often on this show, we throw in a Suzuki Swift. It's something somebody mentions all the time. And I suppose that's why Suzuki are doing so well now, because they've got cars that fit into that sort of segment, which is very popular.
The Suzuki Swift for me is the go-to car for a youngster.
Yeah.
If anybody asks me, Vasti, what car would you recommend?
Yes.
I always go to the Suzuki Swift for a number of reasons. And the other one is your insurance costs are less because they're not high on the target list.
Yes. At one time it used to be the Kia Picanto for me, but the Kias just seem to price themselves out of the market.
Yeah,
and the Suzuki Swift is a slightly bigger car as well. So, that's the ideal car. It's not like Suzuki sponsoring the show. But you mentioned 3 Suzukis.
It's almost
the Starlet, the Baleno, and the Swift.
Yeah.
Starlet.
Starlet, yeah.
Yeah.
3 Suzukis.
Yeah. Great options. Okay.
Our next question is from first-time buyer Sean, who hails from Gauteng and has come across an online car sale advert for a Toyota Tazz. He is very interested in the car but would like to ask for advice on how to go about the purchase of the vehicle. He doesn't want to be ripped off or be sold a stolen vehicle. Okay, guys, according to the question, and Mike and I were having a laugh at this, it's not, I very much doubt it's a bank repossessed question. bank repossessed car.
Toyota
Mike,
Taz's
just explain
no.
to the viewers what you explained to me.
A Toyota Taz will never be repossessed. It will get
By the bank.
No, never. A family member will say, "Give it to me. I'll take over your payments. I'll buy it from you."
How do you can't repossess a Toyota Taz because it's so old you can't finance it in the first place. So it's a scam. It sounds like a scam.
It does, but like I also said earlier to Sagi offline was I've often taken my cars to a repo auction. And the advert says repossessed auction house, but I can put my cars on there and they're not repossessed.
There's one car in the 4,000 they're selling that actually is repo. The rest are
all
this junk they've
cars,
dumped
yes,
on they can't
but
sell.
I can't sell. Yeah.
It's all the infinities and things like that I can't get rid of. It's Sam's favorite.
Sam's car.
But we actually get this question on radio quite often, and I often tell people, like, if you're going to go and buy a car from an auction, it's often the cars that dealers don't want.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a repossessed car.
Yeah.
Because like back in the day, you'd be thinking, oh, I'm going to get a good deal on this repossessed car because the celebrity is now being liquidated and I can buy his McLaren for like half the price.
Yes.
But it's not really like
it's
that.
not a viable option.
No.
Are you going to get ripped off? More than likely. Because really Taz's, you don't sell Taz. You just put out there and say, this is for sale, and then
There'll be 50 million phone calls.
5 million people that come through. I mean, you don't really even advertise them because there's always somebody who says, if you get that car, I want it.
Mm.
So the Toyota Taz, if it's like, it's a repossessed and it's going onto the auction, and what do they say, Mike? Give me 10 grand to hold it for you.
Yeah.
I'll just send me 10,000 rand. I'll hold the car for you, and then you can come and view it at our empty field somewhere.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would say in this case, be very, very careful when somebody's giving you stories like this. Go and actually see the car. Make sure that it's all there. Make sure all the paperwork is all there. How does one check if a vehicle is actually stolen and someone's trying to sell a stolen car, Mike?
Well, if it's been cloned, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
That is near impossible. And in fact, you and I have a history
Yes.
of a cloned vehicle.
Yes, we've had
And
a
we
problem.
both didn't know.
Yes.
And it only comes up after the license has expired, and then
You
they
can't buy
pick
a
up on the system that there's another car. But if a car is stolen and it's on the system, before you pay for the car, ask for a roadworthy certificate, because it will then populate on the national database that this vehicle has been.
So if it's actually it's listed as stolen, if you try to roadworthy the vehicle, they would say at the roadworthy centre, this has a S mark on it, it's registered as stolen, and we're phoning the cops.
Not only that, I wouldn't say this just because I'm a sewer rat, but pay a little bit more, go to a reputable dealer. And when I say reputable dealer, go onto Google reviews, find out a little bit more about the dealer, because you've got recourse against that dealer. It falls within the Consumer Protection Act, and the Act is very clear. And the Act is there to protect the consumer as much as it is to protect me.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
Cool. So we've told you that. Take our advice. Be careful. Stay tuned, because after the break, VW Amarok bakkie models go head-to-head.
And we help a viewer with a suitable vehicle for the daily drive under the 200,000 Rand mark. You're watching Buyer's Guide, and if you've just joined us, welcome to this week's show. Inos wants to buy an Amarok and is torn between the previous generation 4Motion Extreme model or the newer Aventura that he's considering trading in his 2016 VW Golf R4. With 105,000 on the clock, which he says he could use as a deposit. The garage is willing to give him 365,000 Rand for the Golf R, where he would end up having to finance 735,000 Rand to purchase the Amarok Aventura. Which Amarok should he buy? The Extreme and keep his Golf R, or the Aventura and trade in the Golf R? The bank has already approved the deal and have given him 30 days to decide. Sam, you're the guy doing all those videos on the Amarok.
So he's looking old one or new one? Which one, Sam?
I would say keep the Golf R and get the old one. 100%. I feel like you'll get so much more utility out of having two cars. And I know that because, I mean, that's something I've done in the past where it just makes sense. The new Amarok is, I wouldn't say it's close to the old one. Of course, it's very far in terms of technology. But in terms of drive, power output, and refinement, it's there, if not the same.
But you know, I got to say something here. I'm sorry to jump in, guys, but if you own an Infinity, you got to have another car.
Well,
You
yeah.
know, but so that argument falls away. But I just need to ask something. You've driven both the Amaroks.
Yes.
Is there a huge difference in them?
In
that
terms
you're
of,
making,
I wouldn't say a huge difference. The
So-
10-speed and the V6 work really well hand in hand.
The previous generation Aventura, now I'm just trying to remember if that was a V6 or it came in V6 and 2-litre turbo.
It did come in the bi-turbo, the Extreme.
Yeah.
But obviously he's definitely going to get the V6 Extreme.
Yeah.
Which is a great buy now. I think you can get one pretty clean for around like 780, 800 grand.
So those, I must say, because the previous V6 as opposed to the latest, newest version V6, the previous one's got a bit more power, and it's a great engine.
Yeah, it
Really,
is. It's a lovely engine.
You know, it just depends if you want that new style, because I think the new Amarok is prettier,
It is.
and it's got a much nicer interior.
Mm.
But compared to the previous generation, but the previous generation wasn't that bad
No,
either.
not at all.
And I like your idea of keep the Golf R,
I-
buy something cheap, buy something cheaper. You're going to get a great bakkie anyway.
Yeah, and then he won't put mileage on the Golf R.
Yeah. Mike?
Mike?
Yeah.
You wanted to say something before Adam cut you off. So
No. They both double cabs. They both have the same application. So I'm with Sam on this. It's a double cab, keep the Golf, and have some fun on the weekends.
Yeah. Because that Golf, if you ever want to sell it, there'll be a queue of people buying it. There's
Yeah.
always a demand for those.
And they will become highly sought after because after this generation Golf 8R, we're not going to get another one.
Yeah.
They
They'll
would
be
give-
electric.
It'll be electric,
Yeah.
and we likely won't get that either. So
Because it'll
keep
be
your Golf 7.
too ridiculously expensive.
Exactly.
no, you can't charge it up. What are you talking about?
Get a generator. Get a generator, charge it up. And moving on to our next question, which is from Derek, who is in the market for a car for the daily drive with a maximum spend of 120,000 Rand. He's narrowed down his options to the following vehicles that he came across online. And it's an online vehicle auction. A 2015 Hyundai i20, a 2014 Golf 7 1.4 TSI, or a 2012 Kia Sorento 2.2 diesel, or a 2011 Volkswagen Golf 1.6 TDI. He's open to other options with no specific criteria. It's quite a change of cars from a big Sorento to
Yes.
diesel Golf to
Derek's going to
a
buy
simple
anything.
i20.
He's like, I got 120 grand. I just want to buy something.
Yeah, give me something. He's like, ticked everything. I'll have a look at that. What do you think there, Sam?
Well, there's no mileage attached to these cars, so it's very hard to say what is a good buy. At 120 grand, I would say the Sorento would be a great buy, but that would probably have the most mileage alongside the Golf 7 1.4 turbo. So safest bet, get the i20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
A Jazz or a Civic.
Honda Jazz or Honda Civic? Great options.
He has
that is.
120,000 Rand. I'd rather take my chance, roll the dice on a Honda Civic or a Honda Jazz.
It's got
than-
400,000 kilometers.
Correct. For
Yeah.
120 grand than an i20 or a Golf 7 or a Kia Sorento or a Golf 7.
Even a CRV,
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
old CRV.
Mm.
Better.
I
or a
like
Ballard.
that you've thrown in the Civic there, because the Civic is one of those sort of cars that nobody notices.
Mm.
It's a fantastic car and it offers great features in that, but not many people buy them. And because of that, they have poor resale value. So I've had clients of mine who've bought them for like 95,000 Rand,
Yeah.
and they've got one with like 100,000 Ks on it, and they just do not give trouble. They go forever. They're just bland. It's just a blob of a car. It's like a Camry.
So it's
And
a
they were
reliable
fantastic,
car.
you know?
It's a reliable car
Yeah.
that depreciates well on the second-hand market. It's a good buy, much like an Infinity.
Yeah.
Right, Segi?
Oh, man. Do we really have to have this guy on the show?
But the Jazz, as you've said as well, is also an excellent option.
Yeah.
It's an excellent option. It's just that they're not like fancy cars. If you don't want that kind of a thing, I think the best of the bunch there in terms of reliability and cheap to run is the i20. The other cars, I mean, the 1.6 TDI Golf, stay away from. It's a
Yep.
horrible engine and it's hellish expensive to fix. The 1.4 TSI, again, those cars can be expensive to maintain. Timing chains, turbochargers, engine failures. And then you're a Kia Sorento, like you said. It's an older one. It'll have loads of mileage on it. So take Mike's advice. Mike, you got any for sale?
I do.
Phone Mike.
Go to Mike. Yeah. But you know, guys, I definitely agree with Mike on the 120 grand spend. But like you said, I think he just wants to buy one.
Yeah.
120 grand, just sell me something.
Yeah, well,
But the
Mike sold you one.
Yeah.
Honda
but the Honda
Civic.
Jazz.
That's probably the best value for money vehicle in that segment, second hand.
And, you know, like Adam
Safest bet.
said, I like what you said. It's an unseen car. So even the people that want to take it off you don't see it.
Yeah.
It's not a high-risk car.
No.
They're cheap to run, they're light on fuel, they're ultra reliable, they don't get stolen, and you can pass them on to your grandchildren.
Okay.
And it will still outlive your grandchildren.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, we help a viewer get better fuel consumption on his high-mileage Toyota Hilux.
And should a viewer keep or get rid of his beloved Audi A1? Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. 61-year-old Avi hails from Pretoria and drives a 2011 Toyota Hilux Raider D4D with a manual gearbox. Done almost 300,000 kilometers on the clock. He uses the bakkie for towing his caravan and only does about 1,500 kilometers a year. Someone recommended he remove the catalytic converter in the exhaust to get better fuel consumption and said that the exhaust is starting to block the gases because of the high mileage. Is this wise to do? Mike, what do you think?
Cut it out.
Cut it out.
Go to one of these guys that do exhausts. They put in a dummy cat
Yeah.
so that it
Confuses the
confuses
ECU.
the ECU, that it thinks it's got a cat.
Doesn't
But
need
then
one on a D40.
Probably would.
Yeah.
What your model?
No, so
yeah, it would.
won't. That's only when you have two sensors, and the D40s doesn't have a sensor in it.
Okay, but the guys that do these exhausts,
Yeah,
they would
they'll know.
They will know.
They would know.
Yeah.
And your consumption's going to be better.
Power.
Power. Car can breathe again.
Yeah. So the catalytic converter, for viewers who don't know what it is basically a box in your exhaust system, and it makes the emissions cleaner out the exhaust. That's
And
a
then the
simple thing.
diesel is called a diesel particulate filter.
Yeah, in some cars or the diesels, it's a DPF. And they do get blocked over time. So like Mike says, take it out because you get restrictive breathing of the engine. It struggles to breathe through the exhaust when it's blocked. So if you take it out, they put a little silencer in there, and it won't make any more noise, and your fuel consumption should improve by a little bit. But if it is blocked, it'll improve by a lot. So
Or-
well worth doing. It's done 300,000 Ks.
Or you could just go back to Toyota, spend the 50 grand and put in an original exhaust system because that's what they cost.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Those catalytic converters are expensive.
Very expensive.
Just chop it out.
Yeah. So is that what you're going with?
Yep,
Chopping
chop it out.
Okay. Sam, you have anything to add?
Chop it out.
Chop it out.
There you go. Chop it out, Avi.
Any exhaust place will do it for you. Quick.
Our last question is an interesting one from Sameh, who owns a 2018 Audi A1 model with a full service history. He recently had to replace the gearbox at 170,000 kilometers. Oh wow, what a surprise. Which didn't come cheap. He just bought another brand new car to help with his travel trips for work and to lessen the burden on the Audi. He wants to keep his A1 for weekends and to take his child to school for when he's not around. It can roughly be 7 days in a month for a traveling of 40 kilometers each day. He is wondering if it is worth keeping. Will it not give him problems in a short space of time after the gearbox replacement? He intends to keep it for an extra 3 years. Sam, would you consider this okay option? Or should he just get rid of the Audi now while the gearbox is new?
It's quite difficult to tell if a car is going to give you problems after you.
Don't you have the
something.
crystal ball?
With Audis, unfortunately, the crystal ball, you shake it
Correct.
every time and it gives you a different answer. So,
The crystal ball, in fact, is at 170,000 kilometers.
yeah. How so?
Because if anybody said to me, what sort of nonsense can I expect on my Audi A1, I'd say between 130 and 170,000 Ks, you're in for a gearbox. So the crystal ball has given us that.
Yes.
So if the gearbox has been done correctly, we've got another 100,000 Ks.
100,000 Ks.
Yeah. So I would say if it's not costing, he obviously likes the car, man. He wants to keep it. I'd say keep it. You've spent that money now.
You can keep it for the next 3 years,
And if
get
you
your 100
really-
grand back.
Well, yeah, if you're really worried about it, buy an aftermarket warranty, bolt that onto the car, and that will mitigate a real blood nose.
Yeah, and I suppose, he's spent a lot of money on the gearbox. You might as well get a use of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
The other option is just to see what you will get for the car. What's its market-related price. And then you may find that it's not worth selling. You might as well keep it because you spent more on the gearbox than the car's worth. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. So maybe you should see what the car's worth. And if you do get good money for you, is it worthwhile selling it? Or you're not going to get a lot of money for it, you might as well just keep the car and run around and have it as a spare car.
3 years is 60,000 Ks.
Yeah.
Or let's make it 75,000 Ks. And as Mike said, he's got another 100,000 Ks. He can get at least another 100,000 out the new gearbox.
So 2018 with 170,000 kilometers on the clock is considered high mileage.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get.
Great
Good money for the
No.
car.
So that's why I say he's doing very little mileage now. Keep the car. The biggest expense is over.
You hope.
Crystal ball.
Hope. Look at the crystal ball. What it is. Okay, so there you go. And just like that, we've come to the end of another episode. Sam and Mike, as usual, thanks for all the great advice that you've given our viewers. Thank you very much.
Until next time, remember to keep left, pass right, and please keep it safe on the roads.